I'm Layla.
I'm Sarah,
and this is Not Your Usual Podcast.
Hi guys.
I'm Layla.
I'm Sarah.
And this is Not Your Usual Podcast. We're so excited to have you guys back. If this is your first time, hi, welcome in.
Welcome back. If you haven't watched our first couple of videos, you should definitely go check that out.
Yes.
We have a little introduction video explaining a little bit of who we are and what we're going to be doing with this podcast. So it's going to definitely explain to you a little more. But today we have something more interesting that we've been thinking about talking for a while. You wanna go into it?
Yeah, sure. So today we're going to be talking about something that has definitely changed our lives, our perception of how we think about things, and definitely just has improved our quality of life from years ago. And it's a practice that we do daily. Do you want to say what it is?
So we're going to be talking about self-confidence and letting God lead.
Yes.
Which is two things that have completely changed my life because I am just someone who, you know, I definitely will say that I've always had like a confidence, but at the same time, like growing up with so many like odds against your favor, it's like, how can you be so confident when there's just so much like against you? And then like with letting God lead, for me, it's like, okay, you know that God's like comes first and like he's supposed to lead everything, but sometimes I feel like I can get in my own way of trying to do things with my own hands, and it's like sometimes you just need to wait.
Exactly. And I personally feel like in terms of self-confidence, it's something that I did struggle with a lot in my childhood. And even like in recent years when I was becoming an adult, a young woman, I think just the pressures of society of what they expect, especially with social media and just with a bunch of people around you, how like we're all at different points of life. And I used to just compare and just like beat down on myself when honestly there's no rush. Like I'm unique, I'm my own person. And I had to remind myself that God made me this way and that I'm exactly who I'm supposed to be and exactly where I'm supposed to be. So just making sure I remember those things has helped me a lot in my self-confidence journey, and which is why leading with God and self-confidence goes hand in hand and is so important to me personally. So can you tell me about just like your childhood, how self-confidence has become so important due to some aspects in that?
Yeah, well, honestly, for me, it's a little hard to say, honestly, because I feel like sometimes I don't even take into account everything that I've actually been through.
Wow,
and when I like
real.
sit and I'm like, okay, like my childhood, and it's like, wow, like, okay, like maybe I've really been through some bad things.
Yes.
Like, so I don't know if you guys can see, but I have a little scar on my face. You probably can't see it anymore, but when I was little, it used to be like a really big like ball. Like literally it used to be
showed
like,
me pictures before.
and like, see, that's how I know you mean a lot to me, because I don't show people pictures of me as a baby. I'm just like, why? Like, no. It was basically like a birth thing. Yeah. So it would pop sometimes though, and you would just bleed, and like I was meant to get surgery and I never did. So, because every time I'd go to get surgery, I'd have like a cold or something. So they'd be like, oh, you can't do it now, just do it later. So I ended up just growing up with it, being in elementary school, middle school, and I had a really big, like, purple scar. Like, I guess it wasn't so purple, like, when I started growing up, but people would make fun of me at school. They would call me forehead bump. And yes, and I was like, every day, like, this was just, like, a thing for me, like, every single day. And it came to a point where I would just be like, okay, like, whatever, like, I just have to ignore it, because first of all, I'm 5'1" now, so when I was little, I was even smaller. I can't fight these kids. I wish I could, but I can't fight them. I'm not the type that's gonna want to like make people feel worse because they're making me feel bad. So I would kind of just be like, keep it pushing. Like, I just remember myself going up the stairs and listening to like bad comments about myself, but it's like, well, like, you're still breathing and alive, like, it's fine. But then that was over, you know, like, now you can barely tell, and I feel like the way that built my confidence was just because, like, at the end of the day, like, no one's perfect. There's a lot of things I could be saying about other people, but that's gonna show and say more about me than them. I honestly feel like the people who did say stuff about me when I was little, like bullying, because that wasn't the only thing. Like, there was probably so much. It's like, you had nothing else more interesting. And to me, it's just crazy that kids would even like make another kid want to feel that bad.
I think probably personally, they probably didn't feel confident in themselves, so they decided to put another person down to make themselves feel a little bit better. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah. So that was that. It was a really big part of my childhood because like I thought I was so ugly, and I thought that like I was like the duck, like the ugly duck. And I like all the other girls like wouldn't get bullied, and I would just be like, I guess like I just gotta be smart and nice, you know, like, and which is fine. Like being smart and nice will take you farther than being pretty will. But anyway, I think being pretty is a perception, so
for sure
we can definitely get into that. But I think another part that really played a big role in my self-confidence was me moving to America.
I can see that for sure.
Any English.
Yes. And I couldn't even like, whenever Sarah talks to me about this stuff, I'm just in shock because I can never like, I probably could, but I can't picture myself making such a big change like that, me personally, having to start from the bottom, like at an age where I already have reached my adolescence and just learning a whole different language, a whole different lifestyle. Like you for sure had to have some confidence with that.
To be honest, I feel like at 13, which is when I moved, it was kind of like a rebirth for me.
Wow.
Yeah, like I remember just like telling everyone in Brazil that I was leaving. They always knew I was going to leave because my parents were here. So it was kind of like, okay, like whenever they're ready, they'll bring you. But my mom was just like, yeah, like just bring the things you really love. You don't have to bring a toothbrush or anything. And I was like, what? Like, I have to bring a toothbrush? And it's like, girl, you're moving to a whole different country.
Yes.
Like, you're about to restart
like, let's think big.
Life.
Like, yes.
And like for me, like at the same time that was a little scary, it was also like I didn't like the position I was in. So for me, it was like it's either I stay here forever or I take this big leap and just trust that like whatever comes, I'll be able to figure it out.
Yes.
And I'm not gonna lie, like having my parents here did really help too. Just because I'm like, if they did it, I could do it.
Yes.
But also, don't get me wrong, like me and my parents did not grow up together, so that was also really big for me, having to just like learn them at 13 and like now they want to tell me what to do, and I'm like, well, like I'm 13, like I've been doing this already and you've never been there, so how are you supposed to tell me what to do now? But that was just like a thing we both had to work together. And I don't know, like me letting God lead in that time of my life has really made a huge difference, because at the time, this is the self-confidence part, I promise I'm not getting sidetracked. At the time, I had to go to this American school. I feel like I mentioned that in another episode, and I didn't speak any English. People would look at me like I was literally an alien.
No.
And like I hope that someone that I went to school with me would be watching this, because now you know I can speak fine. And I like also like it just never made me feel like I wouldn't be able to do it. You know, like I always knew that like I would get to that point where I would be able to speak properly. I would study every day. I would watch videos. I feel like that's a really big part of self-confidence. You can't be confident if you're not working towards something.
Yes.
You can't wake up in the morning and be confident in yourself if all you're doing is just sleeping and eating like everyone else. Like if you're doing regular human things like sleeping, eating, talking, like we were all born knowing how to do those things. And like I mean like mostly everyone. Like,
if you're able to.
If you're able to. It's just like now what about like something that will actually like take you to that next level of confidence? Like sometimes it's even reading a book. Like how can you be more confident if you're not doing anything for yourself?
Exactly.
And how can you let God lead if you don't have a relationship with him?
Exactly.
So that's definitely something I had to work on. But moving here really did affect my confidence. And it's an everyday process though. Like every day it's like something new that I have to figure out or deal with, because it's a new country that I'm living in.
Exactly.
And sometimes it's even worse because I'm like, well, like I've been here for almost half of my life and I've been there for almost half of my life. So it's just like really hard balancing.
Wow.
It, but,
yeah, I can see that.
Yeah. What about for you? What do you think of like my story, I guess?
I think that your story is very impactful. I think that it can also, you can be relating to other people that have made big moves or big changes. Like, I bet there's a bit of fear, a bit of worry, a bit of anxiety. Like, when you're making a huge step like that, you have to have some sort of self-confidence. And me personally, in big decisions I make, I cannot do that alone. I have to pray. I have to rely on God for those things, which I'm pretty sure you did in those situations situations as well. And I really feel like that and instilling that amount of self-confidence in you due to that situation has really leveled up your character and has really made you much more confident now into your adulthood and to apply that sense of self-confidence in certain situations that you've gone through in life.
To be honest, sometimes I don't know how I did it. And then I look back and I'm like, I might have not had as strong as a faith as I have now. And I might have not been going to church. But at the end of the day, I was still had a Bible, praying every morning and night. I still had like people that believed in God and would talk about God to me all the time. Like, I have never been this close in my faith as I am now, but I've always had it like in my head.
Into you.
So like to me that's literally the reason. Like, if you ask me, like, how have you done what you did and, like, how have you, like, gotten here? God. Like, there's just no other explanation.
No way.
There's just no other explanation.
Yes.
But what about you? What was your childhood like?
So for me, my childhood, I grew up in a predominantly white area. I would say that about maybe, like, 80% of my school, 85, was white.
Wow.
And I moved to that area when I was about 5 years old, and I had to basically learn how to adapt to that environment because the majority of my life was spent in an area that was not predominantly white. And due to that, I did face like some racism. I had people as early as I would say third grade. I remember.
Oh wow, that's
I had
really young.
Yeah, it is. I had an incident during, I would say, recess where someone literally told me, we were fighting over a toy, I remember, and someone said, well, you're nothing. You're just black. You're just, and called me the N-word in third grade.
No.
Yes. And like, I was
that makes me so upset.
I was just hearing things like that, or like, in terms of like my hair, I remember my mom did my hair one time and people were looking at me like with like cockeyed faces and just like calling my hair different names and like things like that really had me feel very outcasted and very set apart. In that environment, I had to basically toughen up my skin. I would cry when I got home because I felt like there was something different about me and something that I basically didn't fit in the norm.
Yeah, same.
See, exactly. And then like with that, growing into my adulthood, for example, like right here, I'm sitting here, no lashes, no makeup, well, I have a little bit of makeup, but no lashes. My natural hair is out. And like, if you were to ask me a year ago if I would have showed up like this on camera and everything, I wouldn't have done it. And that just shows how like I've let God lead in my life to express myself naturally and express myself with confidence in this way. That childhood like trauma and everything really had me thinking that I couldn't show up as myself, that I couldn't show up as Layla with just my unique beauty because of what I had faced in my previous years. And also just in general, growing up in a predominantly white area, people even like not really recently but in previous years of my teenage years, they'd be like, oh, you talk white, oh, you're bougie, you're this, you're that. And I'm like, I am sorry. Like I did not move to that area on my own account. Like this is just who I am. This is how I've grown up. So I think just from hearing a bunch of things about myself throughout my whole life, it's really made me define my identity in me, my uniqueness, and being a child of God. It's really just shaped me into having that tough skin and to not be afraid to do what I want to do, because my whole life I've just been told who I am and what I am. But no, I know who I am at the end of the day.
God's eye too.
Yes,
not through
amen.
Other people's eyes.
Mm-hmm. So that's really built up my self-confidence over the years as well. So I have a question. What do you do to practice that self-confidence based on the things that you've experienced in your childhood? What do you do on a day-to-day life that can maybe help other people and help put it into action that way?
Well, I want to just like get a little bit into what you said about like toughening your skin. And that's something I can really talk about, because I feel like people will look at me or look at anyone that like might like have a certain look about them and just judge based off of that. Like, just because I look a certain way doesn't mean I didn't go through something,
Yes,
you know?
exactly.
And I feel like that is a part of, like, toughening up your skin because might be going through so much, but I'm still able to show up here and, like, act a certain way. And I feel like
Exactly.
it's because of the way your environment is set out. And that's what I was going to say. Like, if you were put in a different environment as a kid, you would have still figured it out.
Amen,
But you
yeah.
would have still, like, became like Layla, but just because that's you and like you just had to do the best with your
What I
environment.
could,
Yeah.
exactly.
And I feel like that goes a lot for me too. Like when you were talking about like being an alien. Well, I said that, but you were saying something about like you felt so different, like out of the norm.
outcasted.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I felt like that all the time. And so I was raised by my grandma. She used to dress me for school. And I remember specifically this one day that she put these cargo pants on me. And I just hated them so much. And I felt like everyone was going to make fun of me. Like, and I think that I thought that because people did make fun of me already. So I was like, oh, like they're going to say I look like a boy or something. And honestly, like, I still think about that to this day because I was more worried about what they were going to say to me than about how I actually felt in them. And maybe I liked it. Nowadays, you give me some cargo pants, I will wear them anytime. Like, especially, like, the green, like, you know what I mean? Like, but yeah, like, I just think about that a lot because I feel like if you cared more about what you want to do and how you feel instead of how other people make you feel or what other people want, because sometimes these people don't even know what they want for themselves and they just want to say stuff to you because it's like their pastime. It's like you are not doing anything good for yourself. So this is the free time that you have, you use it to talk about me or talk about other people to validate you because you're not doing anything. Unfortunately, that's the sad truth. But that helps. What was the question?
I said, how do you practice it in your daily life,
Okay.
like being more confident?
Yeah, so that is definitely one of the ways that I practice it because for me, it's like if you aren't waking up in my skin, you don't have to work the way I do. You don't have to think the way I do. You didn't have to learn what I had to learn. Why would I let you affect how I feel and how I like live my life? And not only that, I also feel like no one is actually going to perceive you the right way.
Yes.
Everyone has a different perception because your perception is based on your experiences. And no one had the
Exactly.
same experiences. So for me to change how I act because of how someone's going to perceive me, that's just insane.
It's literally
That's
setting
ridiculous.
yourself up for failure. Like,
Exactly.
based on the way you grew up, based on the people around you, that is how you see everything. That's how you may see religion. That's how you may see relationships. That's how you may see friendships. Everything is based on the things that you have already known.
Yeah.
So the harsh reality is people are not always going to like you. People are not always going to like the things that you do. So you have to be secure enough in yourself and your uniqueness to realize I am not for everybody. I am for myself. And
Yeah.
I need to have that confidence in myself because thinking about what other people think is always going to have you defeated. So you really have to make sure like you're secure within yourself.
For sure.
Yeah. Yeah.
Okay.
Well, so I know you're very confident on social media. I know you've been on social media for a while. You used to have a YouTube channel and you post a lot.
Yeah.
So how do you basically keep doing that? How are you not afraid to go out and post and not be afraid about what other people think about you?
So I think that actually comes with practicing self-confidence because I wasn't always like this. I've always posted a lot. Like, don't get me wrong. Like, I've always like been like that girl that's like, if you go on my Instagram page every week, there's gonna be a new photo. And like,
Yeah.
if you go on my Snapchat, probably every day there's gonna be like a post. Like, I'm just a poster. Like, I love doing that. And the more I get to know other people, the more I get to know that that is okay. Like, I used to really just judge myself and blame myself. And I'm like, why do I like posting so much? And,
Yes.
like, but sometimes like you have to realize like people are not gonna be doing what you want to do because you're
Yes.
not them and they're not you. Like, they might not have anything to say, but I do, and then I'm gonna post it. So I think that for me, like, doing things that I'm not comfortable with really helps me get like out of my comfort zone. And I know that's just like
good.
very like self-explanatory, but What I'm trying to say is that you don't have to be comfortable on social media to post. You just have to post. And then once you do it, like for me, it was like sometimes I would post like little videos talking like, and every time that I would do something new, it'd be like a new feeling. It's like you posted this and it's like, wow, like, and no, it wouldn't be a good feeling though. It'd be like a scary feeling. Like, what are people gonna say? Like, are you gonna get enough likes? Like, I've actually deleted so many things because I didn't get enough likes or comments. And now it's like, I'm posting this for me. Like, I want to make sure that in 40 years, I look back in my page and I'm like, wow, this is who you were, and you were not scared to express yourself, and you weren't scared to say what you wanted and what you were thinking. And I feel like expressing yourself fearlessly also is like a part of that, because everyone's different. Like, now in my international business class, actually, I'm learning that Brazilians are very expressive with their body and their emotions, you know. And I mean, like, I feel like a lot of people are like, you're not Brazilian and you still do that. But to me, it would just be a waste of your own life and potential for you to not fully express who you are as a person because of fear or because of like what other people are going to think or say. It's like, you have no power in my life or what I do, especially when you are letting God lead. These people don't pay your bills. That is the main thing for me. Whether you like what I posted or not, my bills are still getting paid. I'm still getting money, and I'm still happy because my happiness comes from within and not from the likes that I'm getting. Some people might be liking your photos and not even like you. Some people will follow you, comment actually. Like, that is just insane to me. Like, how can you comment on someone's page that you don't fully like? Or how can you even follow them or have them on your phone? Like, personally, I pay for my phone. I'm not seeing someone I don't like on a phone that I'm paying for. That's just me. Like, you have to protect your energy too. I'm not going to simply let everybody come into my space just because social media is a thing. Like, sorry, but like, I'll post anything, but I kind of just leave it there for whoever wants to see it. It's like, I don't know. It just has to become a practice.
I know what you mean. I can definitely agree with you in like the no fear sense, because I used to be so afraid of posting online. There's been times I think in the past, like where I've even like told you about like, oh, I don't know if I should post this. I don't know who's going to see this. But I had to take all fear out of the equation when it comes to my self-confidence, because I know fear is just basically like a lie, I would say. Like,
literally. It's an illusion.
It's an illusion. Like, you're only afraid of things that you're usually not normally used to be doing.
Exactly.
And if you put things into practice, there's not going to be that fear.
The more I post, the less I care.
Exactly. And I think that that goes for other areas of my life as well. So I would say like clothing, for example, used to be a huge thing for me. I'm very expressive, I think, of what I wear. I think I have like, I don't know, just like a niche of what types of clothes I wear, but I would say that it is maybe like out of the norm. I would say it's nothing crazy at all, but I definitely
nothing like Young Thug.
No, like it's just like things that like, I don't know, like I definitely do have to have a confidence to wear these things. Like, I usually wear shirts where maybe my stomach is out or my legs are out, and like to some people like that might be like, for example, they might perceive it as unmodest or like things like that. But for me, this is a part of my self-confidence. Like, it's like when people judge, or like maybe like older people, like, oh, like, are you sure you're showing a lot of skin or this and that? It's like, you do not know what I had to do to be able to wear these things. Like, you don't know the confidence that I had to muster up to be able to be expressive in this way and showcase my body in this way. And I think that is a lot of the judgment that I think from older generations, that like, I feel like that can harm the self-confidence of people that aren't very secure in themselves. And like, I think that goes for friendships and relationships as well. For example, like, you have to be okay with your friends hanging out with other people. You have to have the self-confidence that just because, oh, you weren't invited to something, for example, or maybe a friend didn't text you when you thought they were going to text you, have the self-confidence and the security that you're still a good person, you're still a good friend, you didn't do anything wrong, and you're fine.
Literally. Just knowing who you are.
Yes, and that's a huge thing with self-confidence, and like, I would say validation. Like, what do you have to say like about validation and leading with God in that way?
Well, I feel like I've definitely had to get to the point where my validation only comes from God, because validation from the world is just not real.
Yep.
It doesn't matter what they're doing for you, but it's not real. Like, I used to, like, this is the thing. Like, I'm grateful for the ones who bullied me. And if you're watching this, I hope you are. Like, I'm actually so grateful for you because you've built that tough skin up on me. And honestly, like, maybe I didn't need it, but maybe I did.
Yep.
But
Building character.
to me, it's basically like, okay, like, I've heard a lot of good things in my life, right? But I've also heard a lot of bad things. Like, I used to hear that I was lazy and clumsy. Like, can you even believe that? Like, me lazy? It's like, all right, like, do you know what time I wake up and all I do in the day? Like, I feel like we're all lazy to an extent. It's like, we all like relaxing and having fun and like enjoying ourselves, but for you to call like a kid lazy, like you're setting them up for failure, because like
it's just projection.
Yeah.
Everything, like, I certainly believe that whenever somebody tries to put you down in a certain way or just tries to basically come for your character, it's like, what are you doing, or what is the hurt inside of you that you're projecting these emotions onto me when you don't even know me in that way?
Yeah.
And I definitely feel like that is a great piece of advice to share. Like, self-confidence and taking things personally go hand in hand. You cannot take things personally that people
Yeah.
are saying. You don't know what somebody is going through. Like, maybe they had a bad day. Maybe they're struggling with a
Yeah.
sort of insecurity with themselves. You have to have the self-confidence and the self-security to realize, hey, it does not matter what these people think. I know who I am, and I know where I'm going to be.
Exactly.
Just keep going.
Exactly. And honestly, what really changed for me was the aspect of like, if someone came up to you right now and called you pretty, you have the choice of like letting that like make you feel happy or not. Like, I've definitely like didn't care before, or I've definitely like gotten super happy and it's like, oh, thank you so much. But it's like, if someone gets close to you and they're like, you're so ugly, you're never gonna amount to anything, it's like, how are you gonna let that like, how are you gonna take that in? You know, at the
Yeah.
end of the day, like you said, it's just about not taking things personally and making sure that you know who you are and you know that the things you're doing is actually working for you. So whatever that other person might say, it doesn't matter,
It
because
doesn't.
you don't even know what they're doing, and do they even know what they're doing? But I have a question for you though. Do you feel like being a Christian woman and like wearing different stuff, like how does that affect your faith and like affect how people view you? How would you say?
So I would definitely say that in terms of my faith, it does not really affect my faith, if I'm going to be honest, because like I know who I am and I don't personally feel convicted like about the things that I'm wearing. I would say maybe if I'm wearing like, I know this might be heavy, but like a Satanist shirt or like something like that, then it's like, all right,
Yeah,
like,
no, yeah.
come on. But like personally,
Like showing skin though.
yes, but in terms of showing skin, I feel like if it's not in like a manner that is downright like out of this world, like I honestly don't feel a type of way of it. I feel like my clothes are definitely a reflection of me, an expression of my confidence. Out of anything, it's definitely an expression of my confidence. I feel like if I did feel something where I felt like maybe God wouldn't want me to be wearing these things or
yeah.
this and that, then okay, like maybe I would change it
Yeah.
up. But as long as I don't feel like that,
Yeah.
I'm going to continue expressing myself and showing my confidence in that way.
Yeah, and I feel
Yeah.
like that goes back to having a relationship with God.
Yes.
Sometimes people, I feel like there are a lot of people around me that don't have a strong relationship with God, but there are also a lot of people who do. So for
Yeah.
me, it's like sometimes I'll say things like, "Oh, like God wouldn't want me to do this," and I have to really watch who I'm saying it to, because I feel like some people are like, "Well, how do you know what God wants?" And it's like, well, I talk to him every day, all
Yeah.
the time. Like, to me, it's like, for you to actually understand God, you have to talk to him
Yes.
every single day.
Yes.
Like, maybe for a friendship to be built up, you wouldn't have to talk to that person every day. But if you did, it would be better the way we
Yes,
did, right? Like, we can
exactly.
definitely say that just keeping in contact every day has definitely grounded our friendship
Yes.
as a whole, because we know what's going on with each other. We know what like you might need in that week, or like what you're gonna be doing. And I feel like same goes for God.
Yeah.
If you're not actively going to him with your needs and desires and like thanking him too, you know, how are you gonna have that relationship?
Or
So-
confidence.
Yeah.
That, like, you making, I think a big thing is basically, like, we can talk about journeys, because I think that a lot of people's validation comes from making sure that they're doing the right thing, so that they're in the right situation that they're supposed to be in right now. And I think that, I want to say, like, having a relationship with God for me is what confirms that I am on the right path. But for people that aren't religious, what do you think are some other things that they can be doing to help their self-confidence?
This is a great question, actually, because so for me, my life really changed the beginning of, no, the end of senior year when I read the book The Secret. And it was it's a law of attraction book, and it tells you that if you feel good, you can attract all your dreams and desires. So like, you know me, like once I'm listening to that, I'm like, oh, so all I have to do is feel good and like I'll have everything I want. So basically, I understand that it's hard for some people to have a relationship with God, especially if you didn't grow up with a faith. But I am going to say, though, that if you want to, it's not impossible. Like, I grew up with a faith, and I still didn't have a relationship with God until, like, a few years back that I had to really, like, lock in. But I would say for you to feel like things are going in the right path, alignment. If you are feeling sick and bad in your body, you're not doing something right. If you are hanging out with people and you're having anxiety, you're not doing something right. Like, I'm not saying you never have anxiety, but if you're constantly feeling a certain way, like whether that is sick, angry, sad, just not aligned, you need to change something and you need to figure out what that is. And I feel like that comes with sometimes accepting your flaws and realizing that, like, you know, like going out 4 times a week might not be for you, and that's making you like feel out of alignment and like out of path with God specifically, or hanging out with that person isn't gonna be the best for you, or talking to that boy or that girl. Like at the end of the day, I feel like we all know the things that push us forward and the things that pull us back. But if you keep doing what pulls you back, you're gonna keep getting distant from God. Like at the end of the day, you're either getting better or worse. And if you're with God, you can't get worse. So
I agree with that.
what about for you?
I would say the same thing. It goes with alignment, and I think making sure that you are taking care of yourself. So, for me, it is my faith that puts me into my alignment. But maybe people that aren't on the same, that don't have the same beliefs, I would say basically taking care of yourself and taking care of what you need to do to feel good. That like
Like you mean like in full aspects or small?
in everything, in your body, in your mentality, in your achievements. What are you trying to achieve right now? What are you trying to do to set you apart out of the normal, out of society's ways?
Because like everyone says, you can't get to where you want to be doing what everyone else does.
Yes, exactly. Like if you are saying, "Oh, I want this change for me. Oh, I want to be rich. Oh, I want to be in this situation, this thing." What are you doing today? You making little changes every single day is going to make you have that self-confidence that you're looking for. You working towards that goal, you setting yourself into the aligned path that you're going to want for your life, that is what is going to give you the self-confidence, because you're like, okay, like I'm doing something right now, like I'm working towards something. You're automatically going to feel that sense of dopamine because you're giving back to yourself, and giving back to yourself is really what is going to set you apart and give you that self-confidence.
Because at the end of the day too, like your daily life and your daily habits, your lifestyle is building you as a person.
Exactly.
Like sometimes like I feel like I've been going through so much, but then I have to stop and be like, you have been taking it all in and you have been letting it go. So at the end of the day, it's like you might be going through things, but this is shaping you as a person. And sometimes I feel like people don't have the right perspective and when it comes to that stuff, because not because you are going through like so many bad things that it's the end of the world. Sometimes it's a rebirth. Sometimes you need to open your eyes and realize that the life you were living before was never meant to be yours in the first place. So you need to let that go. And for you to let that go, you need to, you know, be okay with changing and being uncomfortable.
Exactly. And what about like, I think a thing that you were touching on in terms of daily lifestyle. Like for me personally, I feel like comparison of other people's daily lifestyle was a big thing in my self-confidence. Like me being upset when I'm just laying in bed all day and just like on my phone,
Yeah.
and then being upset when seeing other people attaining more and going for
Wow,
more.
really? That's how
Like,
you knew you were meant to be doing more. I've heard that if you are like jealous of something, like
yes.
it's because you're supposed to be doing that
Wow.
thing. Like not like
That's,
bad jealousy. You know
yes,
what
I
I
know
mean?
what you mean. Like,
Yeah.
and that's just crazy to me because comparison is really something, even like that I will still struggle with, especially because of the way I grew up. Like, I feel like the people around me, my peers, my family, like, I'm not saying they were hard on me, but like, I definitely believe my upbringing, like, I
Definitely could say
definitely
they
had
were.
my dad being like a little bit hard on me. And I
Yeah.
know it was out of love because I knew he sees so much potential in
Yeah.
me, but it definitely like came into my life because
Yeah.
now I am like very hard on myself.
Yes, me too.
And I feel like everybody in my life kind of sees that, which is something that I need to definitely work on. But I think it's just the comparison aspect that needs to be talked about more because like you'll see people in basically like our age, like we're 21 years old, and some people right now are already in that mansion. They're already driving that Lambo, or some people are still
Yeah,
working like
true.
just like regular everyday jobs, like most of the rest of our peers, and it's just like looking to find that balance. Like this is where I'm supposed to be right now, and where I am right now is okay as long as I'm working towards being better.
Yeah, for sure.
And that's something that I had to realize, that I can't compare to myself to other people because they're not me and they're not on the same journey as me. So
They didn't
how
go
can
through
I
the
do
same
that?
experiences.
They did not go through the same things as me, and they're just not me. So I think you cannot compare yourself and expect to be happy. You're literally just going to feel upset every single day if you keep doing that.
Yeah. I think also accepting where you are in your
Yes.
life comes with like a huge like relief. A sense of relief. Because
Yeah.
especially when you just break your entire life down, I feel like sometimes we're always trying to just keep going forward and reach new things, and it's like you need to release what you have gone through
Yes.
before you add new things. You know, sometimes
Yes.
like the person that you are in the moment is not ready to receive the things you're asking for. Like I'll say that for myself, that if I was to get what I was asking for about 2 to 3 years, 4 years ago, I probably would have gone insane.
Yes.
I just feel like also like again like it comes with having a relationship with God. Like you're not going to get what you want for sure until you are fully aligned. Like you might think you have it all figured out, but if you don't have it with God, it's not gonna be in the right way.
Exactly.
So-
and I definitely feel that way because it's like, it's just feeling the sense of validation, like, yeah, like I talked to God about it, like this is
Yeah.
for me type of thing.
Yeah.
I definitely
And
agree
f-
with that.
And for me, like accepting where I am has also helped in my daily life because, like you said, like you're looking at other people's journey and it's like, oh, like what are you doing today? Like they might be going to an event or a party, but it's like, what do you have to do today?
Yeah.
Like, did you go to the gym? Have you been eating right? Like, have you been like doing your laundry? Like even like little things like that. That's like, if you don't do it, no one's gonna do it for you.
Exactly.
So you need to get up and do it, or have someone do it for you. But it needs to get done some way, somehow. So I feel like when you compare yourself to other people, you are taking the time out of your own life by putting your energy onto something that's not helping you grow in any way or shape or form. Like I have people that I really like on social media. Like I have a couple girls that like I love watching their stories or stuff like that. But I've gotten to the point where I don't compare myself anymore because I know that I am unique. They're not Sarah Louise. They were
Yeah.
not born and raised in Brazil. They
Yes.
did not have their grandma raise them and have to come here and learn
Yes.
English. Like just breaking down the aspects of my life and having an understanding of like everything happens for a reason, whether
Yes.
it's corny or not. Everything happens for a reason in divine timing. Like
Yes.
things are happening in alignment for you to get to where you want to be.
Yes.
But that's like you said, like you need to have that vision and to practice those habits that's gonna get you there. Because if you just have one or the other, like you have good habits but you don't have a vision, where are you going? What are you working towards?
Yeah.
Or if you have a vision but you're not working, so it's like you need to have both. Like working hard is not going to get you anywhere if you don't have the right intentions. It
You're
might
so
get you
right.
with some money and some connections, but what is the point of that if you don't have the right intentions?
Like, and it's like, say you just need to have validation in the right places. Like, for example, if you're working, like you said, like that might give you a confidence that, like, money wise, you're
But what are
secure.
you working towards?
But what, first of all, that, and second of all, how are you feeling inside?
Right. How are you
Speaking
truly
from
feeling?
somebody that was working all the time, I definitely wasn't feeling that great. Like, I was feeling empty. My mental was just like all over the place. Like, I felt like in any free time that I had, I was thinking about work, or like I was about to break down inside, if I'm gonna be
Wow.
honest, because it's like I knew that's not where I wanted to be,
And
but
you're
that's
spending
where,
most of your time
yes,
there.
but that's where I was just for income. You have to think outside of the box,
Like,
basically.
yeah, if money is just a monetary thing, if money wasn't a piece of paper, what would you be doing
Exactly.
for life?
And I feel like a lot of society bases their self-worth off of money.
And
And like, I
jobs.
feel like we need to talk about that, because it's like, yes, money is great, but first of all, think about why you have that money. You need to show gratitude to God, to your situation, that
sure.
you're in this situation to be able to get the money. Second of all, money is not everything. You could have all the money in the world, but if that's where the most of your validation is coming from, what else do you have? There are so many entrepreneurs, so many CEOs, or so many people that are workaholics that have like bands in their account, but inside are feeling left so empty and so defeated,
Yeah.
because they do not have validation from anything else. So as much as you're working, you need to be taking care of your mind. You need to be taking care of your body and your soul. Those three things is what is going to automatically have you set and secure into self-confidence before anything else. Once you're secure in that area, then maybe, yeah, I can go get a job, or maybe then, yeah, I can go start that vision. But make sure you're always taking care of yourself. That is where self-confidence really stems from.
Yeah, and we do understand that like money is necessary.
Of
Like we're not
course.
saying don't work so you can just work on
Yes.
yourself, but I feel like what a lot of people do is they don't work on themselves at all, and they just think that just because you're going to work every day, working over 40 hours, that you're doing great. And it's like, I'm not saying you're not.
Like, good for
Congratulations.
you,
Like
yes.
that could not be me right now, because if it had to be me, it would, because I would adapt to the situation.
Yes, for sure.
But I've gotten to the point now that I understand that like your time is as valuable as money is,
Yes.
and sometimes more, because you can't get that back. You can find $1,000 on the floor right now, but if you work for $1,000, it's like that time is never
It's
getting
taken
back.
away from you.
It's never getting back. And honestly, I just feel like people should also really focus on their health, because health is wealth, you know? And there's like this Brazilian quote, it's like a rap lyric, and it's like, there are many CEOs or something like with their bank account. Like it's basically, I'm trying to translate it, sorry.
Okay.
It's basically saying that they're in a bed coma with a bank account that could buy the whole hospital. Yeah, I wish I could like put it here somewhere, but it's just a lyric that it reminded me of. And it's like, you working towards money is great, but if you get that money and if you get that level of success, but you don't even have air enough in your lungs to be able to live that life, how is
That
that going
money
to
is
make you feel?
nothing.
Like that will make you feel insane, and all you're going to do is just wish that you took more care of yourself and that you enjoyed your time more to actually do the things you love and care about and take care of your body. Like when I think of things like that, I think of it in a godly perspective. Like God did not put us here to go to work 60 hours a week and just eat and sleep. We were born to enjoy life and express ourselves and connect with people and, you know, find God and be able to express God through the things we do. So
True.
if all you're doing is working, that's fine. But are you doing something for yourself too? Are you doing something for God? Are you doing something for your health? At the end of the day, like you need to be doing those things in order to grow, and not just getting a higher number in your bank account, because that's not growth. That's financial growth,
That's
maybe,
financial
but even
growth.
then, if you get into a situation where that money's gone, where is your growth now?
Seriously, like
You have to work on things that can't be taken away from you. Money can, though.
seriously, like if for example, today you were stripped from all the money in your bank account,
Who are you now?
what is your mental gonna be like?
What's your identity like?
Or did you base that all upon your monetary growth? Did you base that all about the fact that you had a couple dollars in your account? Who are you outside of your bank account? Who are you outside of your family? Who are you outside of the things that people have been telling you? You need to be secure within yourself.
Think outside of the box. Don't let what people thought you be all that you know. I had to sit down with myself and read, listen to podcasts, listen to YouTube videos, and just listen to different things that would help me find out more about the world and find out more about myself, because I grew up in a very small town. I feel like a lot of people that I grew up with didn't really know a lot about life, even though they did know enough to get me through like what they got me through and to get themselves at the time.
Yeah.
I just knew that if I wanted to become the woman that I wanted to be, like, I had to go out of my way to seek that knowledge and seek that wisdom, and it wasn't gonna just come to me if I didn't ask for it, because he can't just come to you, but you have to ask. And I feel like when it comes to like the job situations and stuff like that, like accepting more of who you are instead of putting your validation on a job and money comes with letting go of the things you can't control. If you are trying to fully control everything, you're not letting God lead. You're trying to lead, and it's like, girl, you're not God. You are not Jesus Christ.
Yep.
You cannot build a house on your own.
Yep.
And if God could, he can, but let him do the rest too.
Yes.
Like, you can't, like, yes, you can put out your affirmations and you can set the intentions, but if there's something that you can't control, you need to let it go and watch it work and come to fruition and see what you can do personally, because don't just sit there and expect it to blossom. I mean, you can't too if you have that much faith, because that's the biggest thing for me. It doesn't matter what you ask for. You can't ask for it with no faith.
With no faith.
You can, but you're not going to get it. Faith is the main aspect. So letting go of control and having faith that things will work out for you and will come to you, whether you believe it or believe it, because if you believe it, it'll work.
It'll work.
And
sure.
unless it's not in God's will, but I truly feel it in my heart that your deepest dreams and desires are in God's will. Like, God wants what's best for you. Like, I hate when people are like, well, what if it's not in God's will? Then
Then it
you
won't
shouldn't want it that
happen,
bad.
and you shouldn't want
And it won't happen. You don't have to worry about it.
And I also feel like taking care, like, so what I want to talk about is things that also make me feel good and things that basically promote my self-confidence. So that might be, for me, what that looks like is prayer. That looks like talking to God. That looks like getting my hair done. That looks like getting my nails done.
Yeah.
Getting my brows done. And a lot of people may think
Look
that
good,
those
feel
things
good.
are very materialistic or very just not important, but for me, it is. Looking good makes me feel good. And I can say that don't let other people shame you for wanting to basically add to your beauty, to embrace more of your features by adding things on or anything like that. If this is what makes you feel good inside, do it. If going on that run makes you feel good inside, do it. If calling a friend to hang out makes you feel good, come on, just do it. Do not keep yourself in an area of just sorrow, of doubt, when you know there are things that you could be doing to get yourself out of that situation, to have more confidence. Do you agree?
For sure. Like, the look good, feel good thing is insanely huge for me, because I mean, like, I've always loved taking pictures, but there have been days where I just wouldn't get ready or I wouldn't, like, try at all. Like, I've, like, had multiple days like that, but I've also had days where, like, I know I'm waking up, I'm getting ready. Like, especially for high school, like, I would always, like, really try and stuff like that. But I've had to realize that the days that I don't try at all, it's like, you are not going to feel good. And, like, if I look at it from, like, even, like, a mom and child perspective, if you just have your child wake up and you're like, all right, keep on going, like, just go, like, we're not going to brush your hair or anything. How does that child feel? Like, you don't care for her.
Yeah.
You don't love her. You don't want her to look good. So for yourself, it's the same thing. If you take care of yourself and you make sure that you look good, you feel more cared for, so you can even trust yourself more, because you know that you're, like, a self-reliant but reliant person. You know?
And I think that also just goes with what you just said, selling yourself short, because it's like, for example, if you're waking up and you're just going, not doing anything for yourself, in the back of your head, you're gonna know, you're gonna be like, I could have done better for myself.
You could have been doing better.
I could have done this. And that is, I think, how we do in our daily lives. If we make one decision, like, basically staying in, knowing that you have X, Y, Z to do, or basically going somewhere and not showing up as your best self, and then you see, oh, that girl or boy you like, you see somebody that is giving you an
Exactly. It's
opportunity.
like, damn, I could have looked better.
So show up as your best self every day, even if that means waking up 15 minutes earlier just to prioritize yourself in that way. You're going to feel so much more confident, guys, I can assure you. Or even just like making sure that like you're prepared. I think preparation, is a really big thing. Yeah.
Like, because for me, it's like I hated when I would have like a test or something, and I'm like, oh, I did bad, but I could have studied more. And it's like, that was your fault entirely.
Yes.
If you are not prepared for the day, for dinner, for your test, you're going to do not as good. And now it's your fault because you weren't self-accountable enough to do better.
Exactly.
Yeah. I wanted to talk a little bit about self-care and how like self-care might look completely different for everyone. But if you practice self-care, you are practicing self-confidence. And in a way, for me, it's like letting God lead, because I feel like I know a lot of people, especially in my family, that they don't really prioritize self-care because they prioritize work so much. And it's like, your mental health is so important. Like, you need to be taking care of that. And self-care is going to look different for everyone. It's not just putting on a face mask and a couple cucumbers on your eye and calling it a day. Like, no, like maybe it is like going on a run or calling a friend or even going to therapy. Like, can we please talk about therapy sometimes? Like, therapy is not just for crazy people. It's not just for people who have gone through the army. Like, sometimes you could be a regular college student or even a high school student and you need therapy just to talk about your daily things.
For sure. I really do want to promote that as well, because a lot of the things, like, for example, our childhood stories, like, a lot of the self-confidence that, like, we have basically comes from basically trauma in our childhood that we've healed from.
Exactly.
If there are things in your past that you have not healed from, you might need that extra step in talking to a licensed therapist or talking out these issues that can make you more self-confident. So I definitely agree with that.
Even like other little things, like for me, like I did therapy probably like 6 times, just because, like, why not? Like, I feel like if I'm gonna be promoting it, I have to have done it.
Yeah, for sure.
Like 6 of those therapy sessions that really helped me just to break down some things. And like, but I'm also very knowledgeable when it comes to like the universe and psychology. So sometimes I'm like, okay, like, you know what you have to do.
Yeah.
But that's why I journal every single day. Like, I'm not just like, you know what you have to do and don't do it. Like, I have to do these things in order to feel good. I have to work out. I have to go on nature. Like, nature is my healer. Like, if I don't go out in nature for a week, I'm going to be acting insane.
Yes.
Like, I'm going to be acting crazy. And that's the thing. There are people right now who haven't been out in nature in so long, and you have no idea why you're acting insane. It's like, you need to lock in and realize that, like, you're not just a robot or a machine.
You're
like,
a human.
you deserve to be grounded and take care of yourself. Do nice things for yourself. Go out for a date lunch by yourself. Like, don't wait for somebody to ask you out in order for you to have a good time. Like, have a good time on your own, especially if you're waiting for someone to come in your life. Like, because once that person comes in, are you going to be ready to go on dates with them? Or are you not even taking care of yourself enough that you can't even do that? Like,
Exactly.
sorry, I know that's kind of hard.
But it's like, it's the reality.
Yeah.
So I really think, just to wrap up, just making sure you're taking care of yourself, making sure you're secure within yourself, and establishing a relationship with God, I think, are the 3 things that we'd like to highlight today that I feel like will really change your lifestyle and change your self-confidence take it to another level, basically.
Yes. Planning your days, too, is also very important to me. Like, I have a weekly to-do list that I do every Sunday, and I just do Sunday, Monday, and it's like, what are you doing in the morning from 9? And it doesn't have to be anything long, just a little breakdown. It's like, I'll have like gym, homework, class, podcast, you know, just things that I know that's like, I'm not just winging my week. Like, I know that when I wake up this day, this is what I'm doing, and that's what's going to be expected for me. If something changes, it's fine, but at least I had a little plan, and I'm not just like oblivious of what's going on.
Yes.
So, but yeah, definitely the 3 things you said. And yeah, I think that's it, right?
Yes. So thank you guys for this episode. I think we touched on a lot here. And I think that there's some things that will really help you guys as long as you
Hopefully.
practice them, hopefully.
Yeah.
And yeah.
Just practicing these things every day. It's not easy for sure. Like, we didn't just wake up thinking like this.
No,
but
it's
doing
taken
this every
definitely
day-
years. Like, still working on it.
Exactly.
but yeah.
Make sure you comment, like, and subscribe, and let us know what you like the most from this video.
Yes, if
from
you
this
guys have
episode.
any other ideas, let us know. But thank
Anything you want to hear,
Yes, exactly.
we're not scared to share, so ask away.
Yes.
Thank you for watching.
Thank you guys so much.
Bye.
Bye.